People of the reefing world, this is Reef Beef. This is what it's like if you're at a convention with people who have been involved in reef keeping for a long, long time, and then you go out to drinks, and then you go to somebody's room because no one wants to stop talking, and then you talk about weird reefing stuff that you wouldn't talk about normally because you're face to face talking about stuff and you're slightly inebriated and there's lots of foul language. So if you have children who don't like foul language, I think you're a bad parent. Welcome to Reef Beef. Tonight on Reef Beef, we have got a very special guest, Reef Beef Beefer, Scott Oliphant, who's going to talk to us about stuff that we don't know enough about because he is a PhD kind of person and he knows a lot about how chemicals work. So we're going to talk to him about this stuff. Ben's got a beef. Rich is going to babble about some beef he's got as well. Well, that's what we do. That's Reef Beef. Welcome to the show.
This is Reef Beef. And my name is Benjamin.
My name is Richard.
And today we have a beefy guest. We have a guest, Scott Oliphant.
Hello from South Australia.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about fluconazole and algicides. And I have a beef about myself, a dumb thing that I did. And basically, Richard is just along for the ride.
Is that beef about you cutting yourself and bleeding professionally all over installs?
No, because that's any other day that ends in Y, but you know.
Okay, because I was just wondering about bleeding on your client's stuff as being professional.
I'll show a picture right here of me bleeding on plumbing. But no, this involves me getting a mouthful and a face full of water.
Oh.
This show is brought to you by saltwateraquarium.com, and it is powered by PolypLab once again. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
A beefer.
I am. I'm very excited. I'm one of 3 people that could be here.
Yeah. All 3 of us are here together. So let me just set this up that Scott is a beefer, but I guess this all started because many shows ago when I think we were talking about, we had a show about fluconazole, and I didn't pose many facts behind it. So on the comments section of YouTube of that show, Scott put this long explanation of all this stuff. And I was like, damn, okay, that guy looks like he knows what he's talking about. And then we all just started going back and forth, and magically here he is to say his piece.
There you go. I'm here because I got pissed.
This is a good show for getting pissed. So Scott, why the hell do you know anything about fluconazole?
Well, so I did my undergraduate work in biochemistry at the University of California, Santa Barbara. So I love that. That was a really very difficult degree, but we got trained very, very well by a professor there. And he just did a great job of talking about sort of drug binding to enzymes. So we did a lot of work on modeling how drugs will inhibit enzymes. So I have a bit of background and training in that area. And fluconazole sort of works classically like that, right? It's a drug that binds to a single enzyme target and then stops a biosynthetic pathway and kills something. So it's kind of easier to talk about something like that because we have a lot of clear literature. So,
yeah. And before we get too deep into Fluke, you're also a reef keeper, yeah?
I am, yes.
So tell us behind him.
I see it. Well, that could be a photograph. It's hard to tell.
Look at this photograph.
It's a virtual simulation.
Man.
So tell us about your reefiness.
Yeah, so I started 2 years ago. So you probably know Pete and Sue up at 100% Reef Safe.
Very well. I cannot wait.
Love them.
I am hoping we get to see them at MACNA this year. And I know they're flooding, but I think they're okay. I was looking at I was talking to them on social media, and Pete broke his toe because he's an idiot, and I hope he's listening to this. And and I'm gonna kick him in the toe when I see him.
And if Pete is listening to this, let me also say that he's a wimp for crying about a broken toe.
It's true. Okay, so you deal with them. That's your LFS of choice.
Yeah, so I actually they shipped me a fuck ton of live rock in our shitty mail that we have here in Australia. Of course, it got delayed to the post, but it was still amazing quality. And that sort of started the aquarium, my first reef tank here, pretty instantly. I mean, it didn't even really cycle, so to speak. So started that tank, got really into it, then started a full fishless quarantine system. So I'm a bit of a crazy quarantiner. And then, so good quarantine is good.
Good quarantine is good. I just have never had the, well,
That's
I'll let you fit.
Yeah,
we could talk about quarantine, but you're still telling us your background, and I'm babbling at you already.
It's your turn to be me, Richard.
So then
blood.
Half-wit.
My son weighs 75 pounds and 73 feet tall, and I've been doing this for 7,000 years, but I'm never going to mention that again.
7,025, thank you.
That's my Ben. And now I'm sorry, Scott.
Now back to Scott.
I'm going to go. I think I need to crawl under my desk now and hide.
Yeah. Mom and Dad are fighting.
Yeah, help. So then I got super, I was like, fuck, I got to get another system. So I convinced my partner after a long series of discussions, me buying an aquarium without telling him. And then we have like a 1.2 meter tank in the dining room that's an SPS dominant system that's doing very, very well right now. And I've basically fully automated that. So I can go away on holiday and things don't flood or destroy my home.
Dude, mad props to 2-year reefers with successful SPS dominated tanks. I'm telling you, man, that blows my mind, because it took me, maybe I'm just a dumbass, but it just took me like 15 years to even know what I was doing. But I had to say, it is crazy today with the internet and forums and just more communication. You can catch up to speed so much faster.
Yeah, definitely. And because I do have the advantage of being trained in sort of research, so I can go through and sift through information pretty efficiently. So I think that helped. And then having a strong chemistry background significantly helped. I mean, jumping through things. And then having a monitor and an automatic water tester is like, okay, this just is.
Wait, what did you say? A monitor?
Just an Apex. So I have an Apex to monitor what's going on.
Oh, monitor. Okay.
Yeah. So just an aquarium controller. Yeah. Okay. So that I think has led to a lot of success.
Well, you just got to skip through all the heartache, didn't you, Mr. Fancy Pants?
Well, not the financial one.
That's true.
Hey, Ben, guess what?
Let me guess. Powered by PolypLab?
Yeah, PolypLab is sponsoring us again.
I'm psychic.
And I like a bunch of the products from PolypLab. I use their dried food for my corals. I use it to I've fed baby corals on it and grown them up from tiny babies. It's one of the
Reefroids.
Reefroids. I just dosed some of that this morning, actually. And there's another product they have. They have a bio block called a Genesis block. And it's ceramic. And I actually ended up putting them in all of my tanks for localized nitrate reduction.
Oh, okay.
Can I tell you for sure that it's working? Don't know, because I did some other things at the same time. But it seems to be working. And there's no aluminum so far in any of their products, like is rumored to be in some of the other bio blocks. But it's inexpensive, it's much smaller, and it's much harder. And I like it a lot. So it seems like a good bet that you can use to hedge to get some more space for bacteria growing in your stuff. Yeah, so check out the link below, and if you can get PolypLab wherever quality products are sold. And thank you for coming back, PolypLab. We appreciate the support.
But did you guys actually? So you said all that with the enzymes in the Fluconazole. Did you guys ever actually talk about fluconazole in class, or it's just close enough to?
Probably we briefly mentioned it, but it wasn't really the focus. No, it's just the principles that we worked on. So you could apply that to a lot of different things, right? So typically, like what he did in the program was taught us about a singular enzyme that he did his PhD work on, and then drugs that bound to that and how they bind, and really taught us thematics of drug binding. So I'll talk about one little one today, or else it gets too boring, confusing, and then no one will watch your show anymore.
No, I don't think anyone watches it anyways, but go ahead.
But yeah, that's it. I'm also part of the Rainbow Reefers. So I know Tal, Chris, and Trucker Tammy, of course. I think they wanted a little shout out. So they've been great.
Shout out. Hell yeah, we love them. We're in there too.
Yeah. So that's a good group, and I think that's a good support group as well.
That's on Facebook, correct?
Yes, that's on the Facebook.
Yes, the Book of Faces. So go ahead, and if you want to, go ahead and go through fluconazole. If anything real quick that if you could do like a sort of Reader's Digest version.
So yeah, I'm just going to talk a bit about fluconazole. So fluconazole is what we call a triazole antibiotic, and I'll explain kind of why that is. Now, just for people who don't know, it's currently marketed under this semi-suspicious label of reflux antifungal fish medication. So this drug used to actually be marketed in a product called Algae Buster, but the FDA got mad because that sort of would class it into the algicide space, and it was classed as a pesticide. So that's actually from their website. And even Bulk Reef Supply on their website is saying that a byproduct of using this drug is it kills bryopsis, which should be sort of a red flag, being like, I think the FDA got a bit mad about this, but nonetheless, it is a very potent and it's seemingly selective for killing off bryopsis in aquariums. And everybody knows how shitty that this plant or algae can be. Just a background on the triazoles. So basically they were approved from compounds that contained imidazole. So the first one on the left, the imidazole ring is that nitrogenous ring, and that's what we call a heterocycle. So it's got carbon and nitrogen in it. They got a bit smart, and then they turned that and added an extra nitrogen. That's what forms the triazole class. And fluconazole here, that was a huge breakthrough. It seemed to be very potent, didn't have a lot of toxicity. But now we're seeing, and what's very concerning is resistance. After you go through fluconazole, let's say you have something that isn't working with that, you need to go to these stronger meds, one of them being voriconazole. And that's a quite potent drug and requires a lot of therapeutic monitoring if it's going to be used. And so the scary thing is if we lose these drugs, there's very little options to treat sort of pathogenic fungi that can kill people. So I think we should be very aware of these compounds, and, of course, they're quite regulated.
Hey, if I can interrupt you right there, the question I have is, so Pfizer was sort of the originator of it?
Yeah, it looks like that. I didn't go into the reading on all the approvals and the companies, but yeah, it looks like Pfizer must have, yeah.
And then
approved in 1990 is diflucan.
And then originally this was, they were developing this for human use, like toe fungus, or?
Yeah, like a tablet. So you might have, one of the things that could happen is, I don't know if you know what aspergillus is. Yeah, it produces some horrible compounds, some of the most cancerous known to humankind. And in some people, especially immunocompromised people, it can be invasive, so invade your airways and cause breathing difficulties, and eventually just go into your central nervous system and invade other parts of your body. So something that we, of course, need to treat with a drug. I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, if you get a yeast infection, sometimes you
I
might
get those all the time.
Yeah, fluconazole is prescribed for that as well. So it's quite well tolerated, it seems. But yeah, they some of the, I think clotrimazole is one of those foot fungal ones. So yeah, some of them are applied topically.
Okay.
You can talk to my partner about that. I think he has to use that shit.
Funky toenails.
Yeah, funky fucking toenails, not sexy. So just about this is sort of where it stems from, right? This is why I got mad. So this is the mechanism in fungi. So fluconazole binds this, enzyme, it shouldn't say sterile, I already made a mistake. Enzyme 14 alpha demethylase. So this enzyme is shown in this figure. These sort of like the gray part and the pink part is part of the enzyme. This blue stick is the actual molecule, and that mesh is how much space the molecule takes up when it binds to the enzyme. Now, fluconazole binds to what we call this heme ring. So these enzymes are in a class of cytochromes. So they have heme as a part of them. This basically will go up, the nitrogen on that triazyl ring will coordinate with an iron in the heme ring, creating a nice sort of basically binds into that pocket, okay? When that happens, you alter fungal membrane fluidity, which can be quite damaging, and it basically causes the drug to be fungostatic, so that the fungi can't divide anymore, and eventually the population dies. So
I mean, so what you said that it affects the fungal membrane, is it so it would affects like osmosis through the membrane?
Tons of things. A membrane is a massive traffic way of information for a cell. So talking about trading metabolites, signaling, we grow a lot of yeast in broth, right? And those yeast are all talking to each other. So they're secreting small molecule metabolites. Proteins are being exchanged through, but really it stops ergosterol from being formed, which helps in the membrane. In humans, we have cholesterol in our membranes, which is really needed to keep the membranes nice and happy. Otherwise, we die. So that's sort of the fungal side of things.
Version of it. Yeah.
But it's different in plants, and that's sort of the point I want to go to. So this sterile 14 alpha demethylase is actually found in all kingdoms of life, which is actually quite remarkable. So you'd expect there to be cross-kingdom reactivity of this compound. And this paper did a nice job kind of showing that. So they applied these triazoles. So they did fluconazole, itraconazole, and voriconazole to this flowering plant. It's called Arabidopsis. And you can see here, if you look at the control, that thing is to them properly developed. But we add these drugs and it clearly starts fucking up their development quite severely. So that's probably what's happening in Bryopsis. It also is in that same kingdom. So in plants, triazoles bind to that same enzyme, but they're actually preventing the production of a different class of steroids called the brasinosteroids. And those are really important for plant development. They also help with membrane fluidity and interactions, but these cause a lot of downstream issues. And you can clearly see, I mean, these plants are all not great.
Well, looks like we need to get a hold of Vor.
I'll talk about that and how that might be horribly dangerous and bad.
Oh, dangerous. Hey, Scott, to pause you right there, something just sort of occurred to me. What is the danger that we put fluconazole in our aquariums and then we end up flushing that down a sewage pipe? Is that okay?
I don't know. And I'll talk a little bit about that kind of at the end about discharge of wastes, and I'll wrap that together. And
bummer.
We'll see. Probably bad. Probably not good. But overall, this is likely why Bryopsis is killed in our aquariums. This drug is quite selective at interfering with algal development, or really, I should say plant development, because it doesn't seem that it doesn't works on all algae the same. Now these class of compounds actually really impact corals and anemones, and there was quite a good paper published talking about how these compounds can impact certain corals and anemones. So just a bit of background, cnidarians actually need sterols from their endosymbiotic dinoflagellates. So those little algae cells inside of them actually give the host their sterols. So you can see here that their invertebrate, the cnidarian, is actually a sterile auxotrope. It needs that. So these little algae cells are pumping out sterols for them.
I want to just add something real quick for people because they're used to hearing the word zooxanthellae, which is probably never going away. And we don't really refer to them as zooxanthellae anymore. They are dinoflagellates, right? They are symbiotic dinos.
Yeah, exactly. And here they're referring to symbio. This is in my field, so I'm going to mispronounce that.
Symbiodinium is how we refer to them. And so enjoy that confusion between the hobby and everybody else over the next 10 years as zooxanthellae keeps getting said.
Shit, I was going to ask that too, because one of my questions I was writing down was, what keeps us from messing with zooxanthellae?
And this is it. So it can fuck with that. So the ITA, here shown, it's inhibiting CYP51, the cytochrome, that sterile 14-alpha demethylase. It inhibits that, and it actually stops the endosymbionts from making these sterols. So this is itraconazole. They didn't talk about fluconazole or voriconazole, but here they actually worked with Heteractis crispa. So just
nice.
They call it a widely traded sea anemone in the paper. So the azoles can bleach their hosts through disruption of this biosynthesis. So they really nicely, not the best photo, but they do kind of show a bleaching effect between a regular anemone in their controlled environment, and then when they applied this triazole antifungal, classed as an antifungal, but here it's used as actually probably killing off and sort of hurting these dinoflagellates. So you can see when they did some grinding up of these anemones that the cholesterol and total sterol content was actually much less, and it really stressed out the animal. So overall, I think fluconazole is probably a weak option for a reef tank, and anything stronger is probably going to be horribly damaging. And nobody knows the long-term effects of this, right? Like, that's a huge non-natural pressure that you're putting on these little guys. So
yeah, and long-term effects are something the reef world tends to ignore completely. We're looking for quick outcomes based. We don't really know if lanthanum chloride is going to have or cause any issues at all. And I famously at Amacna said that, and then Joe Waiulo is on my ass forever about the AOTY says, don't use lanthanum chloride. And I was just saying, we don't know, so I wouldn't bathe in it. So it's the same kind of things with a lot of the stuff now that more people are reaching out and grabbing stuff and trying to shoehorn it into us, which can make some kind of sense. But a lot of we won't know. We're just adding more things that we won't know about because there's no real money to study this stuff in a reef tank environment. So I'm sure you'll cover more of that at the end when you talk about getting rid of stuff and adding stuff.
Just a little bit, but yeah, it's this stuff is way more complicated than, will it hurt my coral? It's like, oh my God, like, no, it's just, there's significant changes that can happen epigenetically with these animals, or selecting. It's complicated. So this kind of goes into this, and Craig did a great job of this, but I'll go through it again. Is this the antibiotic apocalypse, right? So
this was when we talked with Craig Bingman about fluconazole, or was this a more recent episode?
The last episode where we talked about the people treating anemones with with Cipro.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So this goes into the Cipro one and sort of ties into the concern, but essentially, just again for some background, bacteria and yeast or other microorganisms are super clever. So overall, they either harbor natural mutations or even genes that help confer resistance. They're even really clever. If you're over here and I've got my little gene right here, I can give it to you. I might be able to just horizontally transfer that to you, and now you have it too. And so we've shared it, and that can happen between species and higher taxonomic classification levels of microorganisms, which is scary as fuck. So basically, you apply this antibiotic onto the population of bacteria and you get resistance. And I think this is what's probably happening in a lot of aquaria using antibiotics. Like, it's not strong enough to kill everything. That's never going to happen. You're going to get the resistant population as the dominant one. And it's really exacerbated. Agricultural use is probably the main concern. So, right, they're using them in these massive food production systems that runoff goes into streams and rivers. Then these bacteria enter into our population and eventually back to us, where we can't treat them anymore. And that's the problem. Inappropriate use, so they're not being used by what regulators have said they should be used for, which is important. And overuse. Oh, I have a cold. Oh, go take Cipro. It's like, get fucked. No, that's not how it works. And you shouldn't be doing that.
It doesn't even help.
No, it's just Jesus Christ.
We used to do this, by the way, with tetracycline.
Yep.
Right. So in the 80s and 90s, you could walk into the store and buy tetracycline very easily on a card that would hang on the fish store wall. In one of the stores I worked at in the 80s, we had, you know, a big, huge jar of tetracycline that people would give out like candy and take like candy. And guess what? Guess why we don't use tetracycline anymore? Because things have gotten used to tetracycline, and now we need more robust antibiotics to deal with stuff like Cipro. But if we use Cipro like it's candy now, we're going to need something else. So
yeah, in the 90s, I worked with a dude named Robbie at a fish store, and he would come in with a cold and he would grab, I can't remember that company, Aquarium Pharmaceuticals or whatever. It was carded in a blister pack. You get amoxicillin, triple sulfa, tetracycline, a bunch of other, General Cure. There was a bunch of other ones. But he would just start popping tetracycline. He's like, didn't you know you could do this? And I never did, because it just, even at the time, it felt sketchy. Man, Richard, we have this sponsor that we have loved for before we had a show, and they sell everything under the sun of reefing products, and their name is saltwateraquarium.com.
I just placed an order with saltwateraquarium.com.
What'd you order?
I ordered some food for my pond because I have fish in the pond now. I ordered some aphaptasia.
You're in love with that stuff.
And I ordered something else. Oh, I ordered a new bunch of spin streams because I need to replace them because the gearing does wear out. So that's what I ordered. It should be here any day now. I like saltwateraquarium.com. They're nice people, and they have all the stuff I need, and they ship it damn quick.
They ship it quick because they have 3 different locations across the United States to ship out to your area fast. They have a bunch of programs where like healthcare workers and military and stuff like that, where you get discounts, you get frequent buyer discounts. You get points for signing up. They have an app that you can access on your phone. It makes ordering in your underwear in your bed at 3 a.m. a lot easier.
Yeah, because you could just roll over, grab your phone, and start ordering from an app.
You know, that's how I order most of my stuff.
Yeah. Look, in a world where you want everything instantly, but you also want to support smaller mom and pop kind of shops. Saltwateraquarium.com fits that bill really well. It's family owned. They really enjoy what they're doing, and they put their whole families to work. There's like grandpa is like
chained to the desk
and putting taper on boxes and stuff. So
and if you say that Reef Beef sent you on your order, their grandma will knit booties for your firstborn.
And Ben, if people wanted to go to saltwateraquarium.com, what web address would they use?
You would use the link that we provide in the notes so they know that we sent you.
Yeah. And please let them know that they've been a longtime sponsor of us, and we've been a longtime sponsor of them, using them before this show existed. So we really appreciate them. And beefers, if you let them know you heard about them from us, that makes them very happy, which in turn makes us very happy. So thank you so much for the support. Go check out the link below, saltwateraquarium.com. And now we
moving on.
Good call. Good
God,
call.
man, that's scary. Your diagram right there, it makes me think like, who's gonna win? Is humanity gonna kill itself, or is bacteria gonna kill us?
Probably both. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah. So I went on our favorite forum and I did just a search. I just searched this query as Cipro, and I was a bit shocked. Here's one on in-tank Cipro dosing. And tons of people are using this shit. Like there's no tomorrow. And that's concerning. People are using it. Maybe it's a 200-gallon aquarium and they get it to, some high concentration milligram per liter level. And then that shit just goes into their waterways.
I mean, shouldn't this be illegal?
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
I feel like a dumbass. Like, aren't drugs illegal?
It's a gray area because you can use it, some of these drugs, for aquarium use, but the regulation is poor as well, right? So
and what happens is the same thing that kind of happened with Interceptor, which is I can't remember, it's something with an M. It became harder. They became harder and harder for us to get it, and you had to go through vets and stuff. So, this right there, it says most pink eye meds are over the counter at every drugstore, and you can buy it. And it's like, man, that always makes me really, really nervous. And I know you say our favorite form. I'll just add something about that form. That's Reef to Reef, the form that discriminates against LGBTQ plus people. And by not letting them post threads like, hey, who's a LGBTQ reefer? And let's talk about our reefs, just like they let women in reefing threads go. But that's ancient history. The new piece of history is I actually went to post there a couple of times because of this stuff going on about what's the new about Vibrant. I had chimed in about something, and my posts are there. They need to be moderated and reviewed before they let them up. And I got one or two posts in by what I assume to be some moderator who didn't know what's going on. And now they won't let they won't approve any of my posts. But the cool thing is, people are posting a bunch of Reef Beef videos there, and we get more eyes. So I think that's awesome. So if you really want to help Reef Beef, share us to Reef.
Yes. Flood them.
Yeah, I think it was Trucker Tammy who called it bigot to bigot, and I've called it reef to pooter.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And again, we just want them not to be dicks about it, and we'll never talk about them in a negative way again. That's all. It's really easy. Fix it.
Totally. As a gay man, yes, please. It's fucked up and unkind.
It's just stupid.
It's not cool, man.
It doesn't help at all.
No.
Oh, so fuck those people. All right. Will Cipro kill copepods? Oh my God.
I could have talked about that query search and how far it went and how ridiculous. It's just insanity. So we don't know how persistent the use of antibiotics are in salt and freshwater aquaria due to these sort of off-label uses. It's probably much less significant than agricultural use, but we should still, pay attention to these resistance trends. And so this was a study that actually was able to isolate antibiotic-resistant bacteria from imported ornamental fish.
Holy shit.
They already have them. So now you bring them in your system and you apply this antibiotic, and that little blue pie of resistant bacteria suddenly gets larger.
Wow, 77% are resistant to tetracycline.
It's days.
So that study had some limitations to it. So would say that was from their small sample. They were, I believe, picking colonies of bacteria, which eliminates a lot, right? We know we can't culture everything. So there's a bit of play, but the fact that they found some should already be like, hey, we need to pay attention to this. Whether the study was done well, it could have been done better, but it's an insight. And I'll take an insight over a perfectly designed study any day. But really, I think we have a duty of care to care about this and be aware of it. And a tank shouldn't be an experiment where you're throwing antibiotics at tiny things, right? If you got 2 corals out of your 100 coral system that are melting away, I'm sorry, but probably a stupid idea to throw in an antibiotic to solve it. It's just not. It's if everyone starts doing that, well, goodbye Cipro for treating real clinical issues.
Yeah, and it goes a little further than that. People will freak out about their tanks. In a tank with 100 corals, they have 1 coral going down. They'll try to change things to save that 1 coral, throwing the other 98, 99 corals into a shitstorm of change in their environment that they don't need. If you got 1 coral going down, remove it and deal with it in a jar or somewhere else. Don't risk everything. Corals die all the time on the reef. That's what they're supposed to do. That's how reefs grow. So, look at the bigger picture rather than your tunnel vision myopic over 1 coral going down. That's not the end of your world.
That was hard for me when I did this when I was like 16 years old, and that was a disaster. But when I got back into it, that was hard. And, it kind of, I wasn't great at it in the beginning, but then quickly you start reading about some of these things. It's like, okay, this is horrible. But yeah, again, if I were going to treat something, A, I don't think you probably should. B, if you had to, probably in a bath treatment and you bleach the fuck out of everything prior to putting it down the drain. But the problem still is that piece of coral or anemone that you have now has been, artificially selected to have potentially more antibiotic resistant bacteria that will go into the system. So,
and that's why you're bleaching it, to get rid of any bacteria that think like, oh, I made it, I'm gonna go down the sewer, and the bleach just says nope.
And bleach can degrade some molecules as well. So and peroxide could be an option too. If you just oxidize the fuck out of everything, it's probably not going to be the same molecule anymore, and that might help the problem as well. So, but again, I'd have to look into the concentrations, what are necessary, right? I mean, is dilute bleach enough for everything? I don't really know. I haven't really looked into that, but yeah, that's all I have to say on that little presentation front of things.
But this, I'm a freedom-loving American, just like every other freedom-loving American, but like, it's things like this that just freak me out, because and then we'd our dinky ass show that, no one's barely watching. No, I'm just kidding, beefers. Y'all are all watching, but I'm just saying our little reach. And then it's like, we're all doing this crazy ill-advised thing. And it's like, some of this stuff, it feels like it should be illegal, because we're just like watching like how this could, maybe that sounds hyperbolic, but just lead to the end of humanity. And we're like, oh, well. Yeah.
And it's also hard to go with the scale of things, right? We know agriculture is a horrible offender of this. So
yeah,
that doesn't make it better.
Yeah, and we need to be careful. I've seen that a lot of people, not that you're doing it, but that the natural thing for people to do is say, we're not so bad, they're much worse. And that doesn't help us at all. We have to be model citizens of the world, because we are the low-hanging fruit with everybody who wants to deal with the environment. It's very easy to point at the aquarium world and go, they're taking animals off the reef, they should be stopped. So if you are not making sure that we've got our ducks in a row, it's not going to work. It didn't work in Hawaii. It doesn't work anywhere. In Hawaii, you go, the recreational fishermen take way more of these fish off the reef than we do. no one gives a shit. You have to keep your own ass clean. And just because somebody's doing it worse doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing it better.
Yeah, like Matt Peterson several shows ago was saying, like in Hawaii, if you spearfish and caught an Achilles heel and ate it on the beach, you know, everyone's like, oh, cool. And then we try to put it in an aquarium and everyone's like, you're Satan.
Yeah, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You can bemoan that's injustice. But yeah, it is unjust, and it's never going to change. We have to be better. We have to be good because we know we're supposed to be good. We can't not be good because other people are worse than us. That's an insane way to live, right?
And that's why I'm scared for the world, because that issue, I'm scared for the industry, I'm scared for the world, because that issue, just like asking people, stores to be more moralistic and wholesalers to be moralistic and hobbyists that go into store to buy stuff. I mean, I've been there where the rubber meets the road, and it's a big ask. Hey, we should be better. And 2 people out of 1,000 hear it and they're like, okay, maybe I'll be better.
Well, but also that's changing now. I think the world has picked up, or is starting to pick up, on the idea that the end user isn't responsible for saving the world, right? And so in the same way as we've been talking over the last year, that the hobbyist isn't responsible for the hobby being sustainable or responsible. It's
totally.
There's just no way, you know, just like your recycling doesn't do shit, because you only buy what's in front of you. It's the same thing with the hobby. You just the fish and the animals coming to us should already be sustainably sourced. It shouldn't be up to us to try to make a vendor be responsible and sustainable. So
yeah, like companies making plastic and say, don't forget to recycle, and it's like, quit fucking making plastic.
Quit fucking making plastic.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and like burning of fossil fuels. Oh, you need to drive a hybrid or electric car. It's like, you just need to make all of these vehicles fucking illegal. So maybe if government could do something about that and regulate it, because yeah, I think especially being in Australia, there's a real point of difference. We're far more regulated here than the States, and that was quite apparent when I moved here. And a lot of the things I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea, because then it doesn't get to the hands of these average people, and then they're not going to try all the weird back channels to get something. They'll just give up and they won't do it. So
again, I don't know what to say, because I love freedom, but I mean, freedom can hang you from a noose too.
yeah, I think, yeah, when you're talking about some of these things, there just needs to be some important regulation in place.
Look, the freedom thing is so weird, Ben. You don't have freedom to blow smoke in a baby's face.
In Texas, you do.
Do you?
You can blow smoke right up their arse. Only if it's gun smoke.
There is lots of shit in the States that we don't have the freedom to do, and that we're happy and fine with it. It's just this kind of amorphous boogeyman of they're taking away my freedoms.
I'm just waiting for someone to liken us not being able to use Cipro as what's happening in Ukraine.
Oh my God.
Oh, by the way, fuck Putin.
Absolutely.
Yes, agreed.
Absolutely. But, you know, not being able to keep our pets is the same thing that people in Ukraine are going through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where I need 4 rifles pointed at my head right now.
So you know what? I'm thinking about that now, about freedom. I don't think you should be free to be an idiot at other people's expense. Right? So if you want to be an idiot and put your face on, put your head in a bag filled with exhaust from your car,
is that
all
bad?
All for it. But, because I want to use antibiotic arbitrarily because I think I should be able to, it just seems like that's not freedom anymore. That's costing me my freedom. And so what do I want? I want people to be more responsible with what they choose to do. free. Yeah, with great freedom comes great responsibility. Oh, suck on that, dead Aunt May in the new Spider-Man movie.
I didn't see it yet, so that's.
Well, she dies in it.
Oh, thanks for fucking ruining it.
Yeah. It's a good movie, and she dies.
Spoiler alert, in the Bible.
In the Bible, Lot's daughters get him drunk and have sex with him.
Yeah.
Woo, Bible!
The angels want to rape Lot's children, something like that.
No, the townspeople in Sodom and Gomorrah want to fuck the angels.
I mean, that sounds kind of fun.
And then God says, "Fuck all that. I'm gonna fuck it all up.
Wait, the
don't run away and don't look." And Lot's wife goes, "I know God told me not to look, but what?"
I know, man. I'm sorry, but I'm not a believer. But if a magic being did appear and said, "Don't do A," well, I mean, first of all, I'm a human, so I probably would do it. But I would also think, like, man. He never said you'd turn into a pillar of salt, did he?
He did. He said, don't. Why, if you believe in God and God says don't do it, I think you probably shouldn't do it.
What a piece of shit then. She's like, oh, okay. Oh, shit.
Yeah. Well, that's also the best thing is when super religious people get divorced and you just go, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. You didn't read the fine print?
So now we've alienated everyone.
Yeah. But that's what we do here at Reef.
That's what we do here.
We're trying to whittle down to our core constituents,
which is just us.
Probably Trucker Tammy. There's probably a good 50 people. I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna say 90% of the people who subscribe are your family, and then the other 10% are your family with us. I think people are with us on all of this, on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
We don't hate religion, but it's the same thing as we're talking about with freedom with antibiotics. It's whatever you want to do in your own bedroom. If that's, whatever kind of sex you want to have is fine.
As long as
whatever kind of drugs you want to do.
Hurting children or animals.
Whatever kind of drugs you want to do is fine. Whatever kind of religion you want to have is fine. But when you spill all that out into the public, you need to be responsible about it. I think that's actually backwards. If I don't care what you do in those places, but when you try to make me do what you want to do in those places, you're an asshole and leave me alone. That's freedom, Ben.
Hey, Richard, if you were a fan of Reef Beef and you're like, man, these two humans are good humans, like how would you go about supporting these two humans?
I would do a 3-pronged approach. I would go to reefbeefpodcast.com/membership and I would buy them a beer. And then I would also, by clicking the link that said buy them a beer, and then I would also become a member at whatever level I felt comfortable personally becoming a member. And that gets you access to us and some other perks as well. But the main thing I would do is I would be sharing the podcast or the YouTube videos to all of my favorite forums to get more of it out there so more people got eyes on it. We realize it's not a podcast for everyone, but it's a podcast for some. And the more sums we have, the more fun the podcast is.
But that's why you should probably share it in places where it doesn't even belong, like your grandmother's knitting circle or your uncle's I hate other type of people group forum.
That's so misogynist.
But that's what I'm saying.
Your grandmother's knitting circle and your grandfather's fight club. Oh my God, you're just trapped in the paradigm.
What if Reef Beef brought us all together?
Yeah. How about your grandfather's knitting club and your grandmother's fight club?
Oh, that's your grandmother's secret. Yeah.
You just flip that around.
Yeah.
So subscribe. That's always good. Comment because we like the interaction and share our stuff around. And for everybody who's supporting us, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so, so much for your support.
Oh my God.
Can we talk about algicides now? Or did we?
I didn't have anything prepared on that. I actually
What an
spent
asshole.
time going through the literature, and it was a lot
So,
harder to find.
so Fluke seems to work.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's, I won't use it. I mean, for some of the reasons you talked about, I won't use it. But also, you don't need it, so I wouldn't use it. So
I can throw at,
It's-
because we all look at this in different ways. So me as a business, I mean, I used Fluconazole in 4 different systems and it worked really well. And that was just, you know, like not quite a year ago, but it was a way past. So from my standpoint, though, you're doing this for someone for money and a problem arises up. You don't have the luxury like a hobbyist does to sort of power through it for a couple months. I mean, in my realm, if I don't fix it pretty fast, I get fired.
but there's other ways to fix it besides throwing magic in a bottle at it.
Yeah, but didn't we just learn that Fluconazole isn't exactly magic in a bottle, but that it does have some downsides to the back end?
Well, so does all magic.
So does your face.
So I mean, so you got a big rock that's got. First of all, if you're a professional, right?
I got a big.
You should notice that bryopsis is growing before it gets out of control, and then when you notice it growing, there's lots of things you can do to nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem. And that's what I think people should be focusing on. Not, I'm going to let it go to shit and then I'm going to pour googly bottled shit into my tank and hope that that takes care of the problem of me not nipping it in the bud when it was easy to nip.
Well, there's another scenario where someone would call me and say, "Hi, I got an aquarium and it's all fucked up." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll be right over." And I go over and it's all fucked up. And, but I guess in that case, I wouldn't say, "Well, let's lose Fluconazole." I would just say, you know, let's get rid of everything and redo it.
Right. So,
You know.
so both of your arguments are destroyed. The first one is somebody calls you with a tank that's totally fucked. Then you just get to go, well, this is, I need to pull all the rock and give you new rock. Right. And then the other one is,
Not
you know, I've got to fix it because they're playing me to do it. Well, then you shouldn't have let it get that bad in the first place, motherfucker.
Oh, you wound me with your words.
You are a smart man, except when you're not.
Yeah, I'm a dumbass charading as a smartass.
No, you're a smart guy.
Oh, thank you, Richard.
All of these bad all of these I can't think of the word now. Fallacious ways of thinking. It sounds like fellatio. That's even
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where my mind went.
But all these fallacies, they work on everyone, even if you know them. Did I tell you my new thing?
I don't
May
know.
not have not said the new thing is that it's people are looking for one magic answer for everything in reef keeping nowadays. It's, you know, what's the light I should be using? What's the right light? Doesn't fucking matter. You know, well, you know, oh, my phosphates, got to fix that. There's no one magic parameter. It's a box of complicated, and thinking that you're going to fix the Redfield ratio and now everything's going to be okay is nuts. That's not how it works. And people get tunnel visioned. I guess maybe we should name this episode Tunnel Vision. They get stuck with the one thing they're going after and think that's going to fix stuff, and it doesn't.
I see a lot of social media stuff though, where people come into the hobby, and that I'm not trying to say this in a negative light, but people, you know, get into this social aspect of the hobby, and they're like, "Oh, this company X, and I want to be their friends, and I'm repping this stuff," and then they don't even know what it really is. And I mean, there's a lot of social aspect to some of this.
I hate that stuff. It's like, hey, this aquarium's powered by this brand. It's like, get fucked. You can power aquarium by fucking anything. It's shit you buy on Amazon that's brandless. It's like come the fuck on. And like half that crap is snake oil anyways.
You're gonna have to leave, Scott, when we talk about our sponsors then.
Well, we only, you know, we talk about specific stuff from specific sponsors.
That's true.
If a sponsor is doing something we can't support,
We don't talk
about it.
And I've never heard you guys ever say this whole aquarium is powered by this singular product line. It's
That's
like
just
people
That's
do
what I'm
that.
gonna say next, just to piss you off.
Yeah.
Mr.
people
Oliphant.
accuse me of being a Neptune product shill.
Accused.
Because I talk about them all the time and I think they're great and there's a lot of product. But I would never say my tank is powered by Neptune systems. My tank is powered by a bunch
For
of
$1 million, you would.
For a fucking $1 million, I would sell this podcast in a fucking heartbeat.
Then it would just be me. And I'd just be waiting for the sex cult status.
I would shave my head on screen for way less than $1 million.
Really? What's your bottom line?
To shave my head?
$50?
No. $1,000 I'll shave my head.
Really?
Any beefers want to give me $1,000, shave my head? I'll do it.
Boring. God.
So yeah, don't be a shit, use your products and recommend the products and be a champion for the products that work for you. But that doesn't mean, blind faith and, there's several Neptune products I don't use and wouldn't use. Just because the reviews on them are not so great consistently. And so,
I mean, hell, we've had sponsors before where there's things that the sponsors put out that I'm not into, but I mean, I guess I would say you don't have to make a game of it, but I'm just saying, ever notice what we don't talk about is things that it's because that's not why Richard and I made the show. No one's going to get us to talk about some shit that we don't feel comfortable with. We'll talk about things you make that we use and we like, but we're not going to talk about things you make that we don't use and don't like.
And no brand is perfect, right? No brand is going to have a product line that's completely non-snake oily, right? That doesn't exist. I don't think.
Yeah.
So you have to navigate that space.
And that's back to, stupid Reef to Reef with their stupid policy. It's a shame. I don't want them to be perfect. We don't want them to be perfect. There's a lot of other issues I have with Reef to Reef, but I'd be willing to look those through. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to be less fucking stupid.
Hey, let me do a beef. So my beef is myself, my dumbass self.
That's my beef too, is you.
I know. So we can join hands in this effort. So I was doing an install a couple days ago, and this is so fucking rookie, but I was plumbing up a bunch of Schedule 80 PVC, and some of it you dry fit and some of this, and that. And just like a goddamn rookie. Well, I mean, I did this 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. So this happened later in the day, and I was fucking tired. And I thought I had everything plumbed in. And sorry, that moment of truth where you plug the pump in. And then I spend some time there with a flashlight, checking all my joints to make sure. And so up in the return, I'm like, oh, fuck. There's a little drip. So anyway, so I saw the drippage and I start to go at the fitting and it pops the fuck off. And first of all, I have a Cipro ADV9 at 2,500 gallons an hour, and it's going through a 1.5-inch pipe. So and I have my face right by it. What happens is the return line is shooting me in the face through a 1.5-inch line. And then the return is back siphoning 1.5 inch into my face. And it literally was going out of my mouth and through my nose. And then once I got my head down and has plastered my hair against my head, and I'm watching the stand fill up with water, and I'm just like an octopus. I'm just have my hands out. I'm like, where's the fucking thing to make this stop? And then I'm looking at a power strip that's slowly getting, submerged in water. And I'm trying to hit it. And I'm like, I'm going to get electrocuted. And I finally got it all off and jammed it back in there. But then, it slowly creeped out into the carpet. But I had a wet dry vac and all this shit. And I vacuumed it up. And it put me behind another 2 hours. So I didn't leave there until 11 o'clock. So I have a beef with myself, and I'm a fucking idiot for not double checking that. I didn't glue it in.
Oh, it wasn't even glued at all.
Not at all. I just dry fitted it, and I was just gonna come back to it later. And it was
my sympathy level just dropped dramatically.
Yes.
Yeah. So this experiment you're doing with trying to in plumbing, you're trying to push the boundaries by not using glue.
Yes.
We've done that experiment many, many times. No one needs to do it again.
I was the kid that they're like, don't touch that bin, that's hot. And I'm like, ow, 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 ow. So, you know.
Oh man, with all reality, that really sucks. I mean, we've all done that before, a version of that.
But you know, after 7,000 years of experience, it just goes to show you that that amount of experience doesn't mean shit, because you can still do a dumb thing for 7,000 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott, tell us about your system.
So this is a quarantine system. So it's a Cade Aquarium, it's an Australian company. It's still manufactured in China, I believe. But
some buddies of mine distribute that here. The Overgases.
Pretty solid systems. I like them. They're sturdy. And I'm on shitty wood floors, so I need something that's not gonna bow. It's very rigid. I like that. Okay. It's just standard sum. I'm running 2 apexes in the house with tridents on them. And this system is invert only, so it's got 2 carpet anemones, a bit of LPS.
Let's say red, right?
Yeah, there's a red one right there.
Very cool.
And the color's gonna look like shit. You won't see the blue one because it's camouflaged.
Oh, is that the Kessel AP9X?
Yeah. I'm still toying with that light. I'm trying to figure out how to use it properly, but I'm just giving the animals a time to adapt to the changes and observe and see. Then the other system, is a much larger sort of SBS dominant reef, and if I could carry my monitor there, I would.
You can after production or whatever, you can send us a video. Is it video worthy?
It's young, right? I didn't want to stuff it. I am definitely brave. I'm proud of it. Like, it's just not full, right? Like, it's young. It's only been running since last July. It's totally coated in coralline algae at this stage. There's, I'm basically supplementing all the herbivores now because they start to run out. Yeah. And then I'm getting a lot of really rapid growth. So I've been dosing sodium hydroxide at nighttime to help with just boost the overall pH to get quicker growth. And anecdotally, it seems to be doing something faster.
That's a scary.
Be careful with sodium hydroxide.
Absolutely.
If you're not Scott, who's been trained in a fucking lab for the last 20 years, don't even bother with sodium hydroxide.
I used full PPE to make it up, measured the concentration accurately. It's all controlled. I'm monitoring everything, and there's about 50 fucking fail safes if something goes wrong to stop it. So
you know how we talk about 10%
muriatic.
Well, muriatic is 10%, but we talk about that and how don't fuck with that. Sodium hydroxide will fuck you up.
I'm gonna send a picture to Snowman. He's gonna put it right here. It's where I got some. So I use sodium hydroxide to reconstitute DI. You use muriatic acid for, I can't remember if it's cation or anion, and then the opposite for the other one, sodium hydroxide. And I splashed a little bit of it on my truck grill, and it left some fucking marks on my truck grill. And I've been around muriatic a lot. I use it a lot, and I'm around it. I have a lot of respect for it. But after that time that I was messing with sodium hydroxide, I can safely say I'm more scared of sodium hydroxide than I am of muriatic.
And you should, because it does something different. It calls saponification. So basically it saponifies your fats. It will go through your fucking skin and through your fats to your bones.
Really?
Depending on how much. Oh yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's different. It's just a different way. I mean, I am working in the laboratory. I'm more scared of sodium hydroxide. I mean, my old boss back in the day would wash his hands with 6 molar hydrochloric. I don't know the molarity of some of these sort of, I guess, grades that you can buy of hydrochloric that you can buy at the store commonly, but 6 molar is not weak, but quick contact, dilute with water, it's fine. You do 6 molar sodium hydroxide on your hands, you ain't gonna have hands.
You're gonna be fucked. And you're using that instead of caulk, right?
No, so it's just instead of the 2-part. So it's
Oh,
a,
okay.
yeah, I'm just using a commercial 2-part here. And then at nighttime, I stop dosing that. The hydroxide starts to dose in a very high flow area. Um, and yeah, it just sort of keeps that bottom of the pH a lot higher. I was still using a CO2 scrubber, but they're stupid. They cost so much money, and it did a significant change in my house by about a 0.2 pH points, and maybe even 0.3 if we're home a lot. Which again, people forget that pH is logarithmic, right? So
Yeah.
those are big changes. There's massive changes. And so it works, but yeah, the media is ridiculously expensive, and I'm like, this is stupid.
I ran it on a client's 300 in a big thing that BRS sold, like a big canister, and it was just like, so it turns from white to purple. But I would see that tank once a week, and it's like once a month I was dumping like a gallon or two of this stuff, and I ran that for a year, and I was like, there's just a better way. And all I did then was lead a long tube outside of his stand into another room, and it did the same thing for free. So I was like, okay, done with
There
that.
you go. And like, again, I have a goal, right? I just want faster calcification of stony corals. For most people, you have to care. You'd be probably okay. Like, and I think, yeah, people chase pH, but then they're like running a softy tank. It's like,
Yeah. I got involved in a discussion about this because I say all the time, your pH of 7.9 is fine. Don't even worry about it. And I got some people came at me where they were like, well, of course it makes a difference. And I was like, yeah, of course it makes a difference. Of course higher pH is better, and it's logarithmic. But why do you care is the question, right? If you just have a nice tank, who gives a fuck if your pH is suppressed and your calcification isn't more? By the way, tell me how much more it is. I guess somebody, BRS or someone, did a video where they said you get 50% more growth.
they did that, I think, off alkalinity consumption. And
Yeah.
these things are tied together, and I don't think, yeah, it was a bit dubious.
There's not just one answer. Raising your pH alone is not going to make everything better.
Yeah.
But the more important question is, why are you trying to raise the pH? Just because? Anything besides using outside air or opening window, I would say don't even bother with it then. If you are running a coral farm,
Yeah, that's
your
what I was about to say.
and your business is to grow coral as fast as you can, gotcha.
Then you have to push the edge. For sure.
Gotcha. But if you just got a tank at home, do you really care if it grows 20, even 50% faster? Does that really matter?
I was saying, yeah, I mean, I see people fall into that all the time because like, oh yeah, I want to grow faster. And just like Rich said, like if I could just pull you aside and like, for what? Oh, well, faster growth means a healthier tank, right? It's like, not necessarily. Again, you're a giant coral facility growing corals, push those numbers, grow those, growth is money, get after it. If you just have an aquarium at home, it's a fool's errand.
And then those people just end up dumping the aquarium after a year in fucking shambles, and then they suck, and then they horribly abuse the animals inside.
Yeah.
And then they abuse their significant other, and they get cancer and die.
Yeah. So look, using Kalkwasser alone to raise to chase pH or to keep it up, that's dangerous enough for your aquarium, right? Yeah, we're kind of used to it now.
Let's get more dangerous.
But I've killed my tank twice with it.
I've killed.
Think about, oh my God! Think about your dosing pump going crazy, dosing sodium hydroxide into your tank.
Yeah, no, shit's game over. You better have. I have a bunch of systems in place to stop that, but I spent a lot of time, in doing a multifaceted backup, right? But most people won't. I'm putting on my J-Bo doser and let it go. It's fucking hell. God help us.
And the container that holds it just sits on the Euro bracing.
And it's made out of glass. It's made out of human plastic.
So funny.
Just a scrotum hydroxide.
So As a newish reefer, Scott, and then we'll let you go. Um, what advice? What advice would you have given yourself 2 years ago from your vantage point now?
I think, yeah, don't panic about nutrient levels. I think that's something as a beginning thing that is just so hyper instilled. And yeah, I tried to read scientifically as much as I could about this, but at the end of the day, this is in a hobby level area. What we're doing isn't really, no one's done a lot of studies enough to talk about all this stuff. So it's like, okay, well, I must look on the forums and go find this information. And okay, I guess that's an important thing I might try to work on. But I think I did some hyper focusing on that when I should have just said, what the fuck?
That's great. And follow up question: what would you have told yourself from your vantage point now a year ago?
A year ago, don't try to rush a new build. And it's going to take 3 times longer than you expect. So
Yeah. So
definitely.
There's nothing really wrong with that.
put on your patient pants.
But I have
anyone.
I have a small beef. That's
Oh, let's hear your beef.
Yeah, it's just don't use Facebook for fucking information. It is so bad. Some of these groups and forums, the information on there, and it's shocking. Some of the authoritative people that are on there and what they're saying. It's like, oh hell, and then it's just crappy people giving other crappy people advice, and it's like. And they take that one opinion. They didn't spend the time to go read multiple opinions. That's what you're going to unfortunately have to do, is use your eyes and do some reading. And I think that's really important. People just want to only, YouTube is a lot better than it used to be, but come on, like there's some things that you should probably read on and work on and study. And I think yeah, a lot of the other part of that too is that a lot of people who are keeping these animals shouldn't be keeping these animals. They don't have the training to do it. And especially for some of the rare wild caught species, it's like, I got a deep water fairy wrasse and I just put it in this tank and everything died 2 weeks later. Or they set up the tank 2 weeks before. And it's like, no, don't do that.
Why does every condescending voice sound like a Texan?
Oh yeah, I put on my Southern voice for multiple reasons. When Rich did his Southern voice, I lost my shit. I'm like, oh my God.
You classed up the joint with your presentation. That was pretty awesome.
I
love presentations, and I think it is a way to just sort of
That's
go
great.
through and show some fucking data.
Yeah.
But sorry, back to Calc. I don't know if I've extended my welcome here, but
no, hell no.
Yeah, Calc is something I have wanted to do, and there's a group of people working with Calc slurry right now, and I think it's that Jim is
Telegram.
Yeah, exactly, and he's done a lot of work with it, and I find it super intriguing, and it's something I've wanted to try, but it means getting a bucket, having it mixed, reprogramming some of these, or getting different kinds of dosing pumps maybe, and that's kind of why I went the hydroxide route, because I'm like, I have an extra Neptune dose head, I can research all the plastics that I need to contain this chemical. It was easy.
Yeah.
The calc slurry thing would be a bit harder, but that seems to be like, man, this seems a cheap way to run a system and you get all the benefits. I don't know. It's so new.
It's not new.
I guess so. To me, it's like, I don't know. It seems like it's come out of thin air.
It's so old, it has become new.
We were running calc slurry in the 2000s. It just, and we used to just call it, don't just dose the clear water, that's, because the idea with calc is often you mix it and you let it settle and you only dose the clear stuff on top. And for a long time, I was dosing the whole thing. There was a bunch of people doing it. And, the issues became, pumps could wear out, although MaxiJets seemed to work fine for about a year. But it depends on how you're running it. And again, I think it's a fine way to do stuff. But it does come with more dangers, than it doesn't come with.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're gonna run caulk slurry, and you're gonna run it right, you know, you got to be someone like Jim. Jim knows what he's doing, and he pays attention, and he puts fail safes in place, and he pays attention to what he's doing. You know, two-part has, I think, made people a little cavalier. And people still fuck up their tanks with two-part, right?
Yeah, totally. Yes.
So, you know, caulk slurry is another order of magnitude of fuck up your tank. You know,
But what do you think caused the resurgence of it? Because it seemed that there's just this momentum now. And I did find things, from the early 2000s that people were kind of toying with it. But now it seems like and maybe just because of the internet and how things are presented now.
I think things come in cycles anyway, and ideas get traction for a little bit of time, and then they fade away and they come back. And some of that's like herpes, and some of that is like a revelation of wonderful agricultural techniques from the Egyptians. You know, you get both of them, and I think the other part of it is, you know, dosing pumps and, you know, magnetic stirrers are not only easier to get, but they're better than they were in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Right. You know, dosing pumps used to be like, dude, you're going to fuck up everything because it's going to just stay on, you know? And so it was like, you know, my
now you
Kalkwasser,
can calibrate them on the fly too.
my Kalkwasser dosing had so many timers and throttle downs and fail safes in the system to stop it from being bad. And now it's kind of like, oh, if I run it through a controller, I can control the dosing through the controller, through a peristaltic pump, and then I can have a ton of fail safes built in of pH or
runtime,
you know, run times and all kinds of stuff that are going to stop it from getting bad. So I think that's got something to do with it. And you know, everything old becomes new again. You know, so I think caulk slurry for most people is a pain in the ass. Like sodium hydroxide is a literal pain in the ass.
I don't officially recommend that.
Yeah, no one don't. I don't even recommend people, you know,
don't even listen to this.
Exactly. This never happened.
I don't think people should regenerate their DI because of sodium hydroxide. It's just scary. And I think there always should be people who are trying these things, and they should be trying them because they're really interested in it. And I think people who are looking for quick fixes need to stay the fuck away from the scary shit. There's other ways, and like we were talking before, most people just don't care. So people respect Jim, so they look at him and they go, "Well, he's doing it, I should do it." And it's like, "Oh God, you need more than that to bring scary stuff into your house and dose it onto your pets." You know?
That is fucked up.
That is fucked up, yeah.
And that's what we do.
Like, come here, Sparky. I'm going to put fluconazole on your food.
That's right. You wouldn't do that to your fucking dog.
Yeah, why do you do it to fish?
Of course, people put ivermectin up their ass, so, you know, who the fuck knows?
But that's my freedoms.
But someone like Scott or someone like Jim who wants to push and is taking more than reasonable precautions and has thought out the system really well, I'm thrilled with that. Go for it. We need people like that pushing those edges, and you know, maybe you'll find a surefire way to dose sodium hydroxide. Maybe caulk slurry, you know, he'll run into something that will make it easier for people to do, and pH problems will be an issue of the past. And it really is as easy as adding C-Lab 28 blocks. C-Lab 28 blocks. C-Lab 28 blocks do nothing. Don't add C-Lab 28 blocks.
Yeah, those are so old school.
They also have a twist tie embedded in them, so don't put them in your tank. They often, maybe they stop that.
We used to put those in top-off reservoirs because our thinking was it would.
Yeah, they never really did anything. So, you know, people on the edge are on the edge for a reason, and they should be on the edge. Everybody else should just shut the fuck up and sit back and enjoy their tanks, right?
And watch, because I'm watching him go through this. I'm like, I'm curious what technology you're going to mesh together to make this work and the longevity of it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's the other hobby side of it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're just going to be a dickhole to your pets, just get I bought a 3D printer the other day. That's a great hobby because if I forget about it, it doesn't die.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Fuck around with stuff that doesn't die. Unless you are really, really dedicated to not killing them. And you're trained. So show us your tank real quick. Show us your tank.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll get that done. Yeah, so it's growing nicely, but I just want to keep a lot of space between them and grow them up big. I need them a food bowl size.
Oh,
yeah,
do you have those MP40 covers, urchin something or other?
I did. I have a
Do you
very
like 'em?
nice father who mailed them to me. Yeah, I do like them. They're a bit more difficult to clean because of the striations and layers that 3D printing creates.
Yeah.
But I think I don't think the files exist, but if you're able to get the files, you could do them in a different material and maybe refine them a little bit. But yeah, they're great. I was just like, I'm not even dealing with this problem. I don't want small fish to get sucked through. And I'm like, no, I don't want to exist as an issue. I will fully eliminate that.
To clean them, just drop them in, what's that shit called?
Sodium hydroxide.
Sodium hydroxide. No, citric acid.
Yeah, I do citric acid, but even then it's a bit difficult sometimes because of how the core line embeds into that.
Oh, you're one of those people.
Oh, it's got to be perfect.
I want the core.
It does, yeah, to a fault, totally. I like things clean.
Fair enough. Let me see again, because those colonies look really nice and big, and most people don't try to do that. They try to fruit stand it like me. That looks great, man.
Let me see the Trichophilias.
Yeah. Sorry, all the sand, that's actually a white bottom. And the sand, that's not cyano, it's coralline because I'm using a hard, like a really coarse substrate.
And where do you mix your own water, your own salt water?
Yeah, I do, because South Australia has some, the chemistry isn't right here from what I've heard.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it's been collected, and I'm a bit hesitant. And I'm actually working in a lab, right? I like the idea of mixing it myself. I can deal with all of that. So that's in a separate area of the home. I do the auto water change like you do. I ran lines across the house, so it's constantly doing that all the time.
Right on. And are your corals mostly local to Australia, or are they?
Yeah, so it's like or from mates who had them in their tanks, right?
Yeah, okay.
So, origin unknown.
Gotcha.
But I have a good local friend. I'd call him my mentor because he kind of helped me get started up. And I actually purchased some frags and even some colonies from him because he was shuffling his tank around, and that was a good resource. So I've been growing out like this tabling acro right here. I've been growing out for a while, and it's
gorgeous.
I love that thing. But yeah, over here needs more work. But again, I want larger colony growth. There's some wild ones. This wild spath, this purple thing right here. God knows, but it's held its color, which is a huge issue of corals in Australia. You get them as colonies at the LFS, but half the time they shit out, right? They look like turds. They might come back, but
that's the same everywhere. People just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Are your lights, are those Radeon Gen 5s?
Yeah, and again, an issue in Australia is cost. We pay so much more for gear here.
Yeah.
If we converted the cost to American dollars, we're still paying a lot more. So those were painful to purchase.
Ouch.
But
I mean,
I
not exactly unpainful here. I could just imagine.
So yeah, very.
But those are XR15s, right?
Those are XR30s actually.
Yeah, 30s, and you're running them.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
running that way. It's a lot. They're turned down. I just wanted a lot of spread, so I'm getting really even. I have a.
I mean, a
par
lot
meter
of
here.
people would have just done 3, and I see you have 4. Like you're going hard in the paint.
Yeah, I just wanted growth kind of applicable to mini zones and areas.
Yeah,
Nice.
no, I love it.
So that was the idea. And
Nice.
I think it looks kind of cool too.
I know it looks badass.
I know you have the RMS rail and the RMS arms.
Yeah, Sue got me that. We got that sorted up. So I got that stuff from Sue. She got me the MP40s as well. And then down in the dungeon where the dead bodies are. There's just that looks like shit. You can't even see anything. But basically,
oh, there we go.
Yeah, I got a custom roller mat done. It's been a nightmare to deal with and tune and work with. It does seem to keep overall nutrients down from escaping. Because I don't really care about the levels. I just care if like, oh my God, they're going to go into like bad zones in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So just a sort of control measure. And then growing frags in the sump. And then just some reactors, run GFO. The small skimmer, because I don't have a high bio load at all.
Not many fish.
No, not a lot of fish.
What skimmer do you have?
It's a mantis.
Okay, not familiar.
No, I don't think they're sold in the States. It's a Chinese skimmer.
Not to be a shill, but you have there in you have a great company that makes great skimmers that I use here, Delua Great White.
Yeah.
Those are those are good.
Yeah. Skimmers are a weird thing to me. We could talk about that for decades.
We'll have you back on and we can talk deeper about skimmers.
The last thing is, yeah, I'm crazy about I do keep up with trace element demands, at least some of the ones that are published to be important for like invert molting, for example. So I did the little Red Sea rainbow dosing containers. Like, this is wonderfully gay, and I don't think that's what their intention was.
That's fantastic.
So those are little shot bottles that we store chemicals in the lab. So I just bought some of my own.
I like that too. That should be your motto. You're not doing it because it's essential. You're doing it because it's gay.
Yeah, and gay and cute. That's it.
That's good reasons. Gay and cute. That's the name of the show.
Gay and cute.
Gay and cute.
Hell yeah. Do it.
There we go. All right, Scott, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much. Thank you for the information. Thank you for supporting us. And thank you for the ad hoc tour of your tank. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Right on.
Okay.
Have a great night. And that was Reef Beef, powered by saltwateraquarium.com and PolypLab.
Fuck yeah.
Welcome to Reef Beef.
Welcome to fucking Reef Beef.
Reef Beef.
You wouldn't know it if it hit him in the face.
I gotta stay away from voices because I'll do it the whole show.
Yes.
I love accents so much. So I try to stay away from
Facebook
it.
is the Sodom and Gomorrah of the reef keeping world.
It's pretty bad. I'll
It's
agree
the
with
Tower
you.
of Babel.
It's I don't know what to do about it, but
We should probably turn it into a pillar of salt. You gotta dance, Scott. If you don't dance, ejection seat.
I'm dancing in this shitty office chair.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, shit. The host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, good, because we didn't know if you're gonna throw some weird porn up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I had Back to Barstow playing on the side. It's just
Yeah, awesome. Richard, hey, that's Richard's house.
Texas motherfucker.
And really the whole reason that we started Reef Beef is we want to whittle down our audience so small, because then we're going to start a sex cult, and we really want to whittle down everyone that's super with us, so it's not a shock when we do convert to the sex cult,
because we can't
naturally
we can't take rejection, so
No.
we're setting it up for success.
yeah. Now that we've gotten completely off of the page.
Is that okay with you, Scott? Because
Is that okay, Scott?
Yeah, have you guys seen do you know who Trixie and Katya are? They're drag queens.
No.
Okay, never mind. I'll skip all the references.
Oh,
but
dude,
it's
come
your
on.
show. It's not mine. They use that a lot. It means get fucked if you're on the show as a guest.
Yeah. No, but we love guests. Yeah. If
but
you're a
Scott's
guest,
our first beefer guest.
not true. That Aaron.
Yeah, but Aaron wasn't on because he was a high-level beefer. Aaron was a beefer that I had talked to and was like, we should have Aaron on the show because that would be interesting.
Dude, Scott, did you hear that? You're a high-level beefer.
I'm a high-level beefer.
You're like A5 Wagyu.
You were like, now if you get like 4 other beefers to join Beef World, you'll get a percentage of the beef they bring in.
Oh,
I
don't. Is
want-
that some Amway shit? This isn't a
Yeah, I was gonna
pyramid
say
scheme.
pyramid scheme. Make it a
Yes.
pyramid scheme.
Or no, what do they call it nowadays?
Multi-level marketing.
marketing. Yeah, exactly. Is it a pyramid scheme? No. It's multi-level marketing.
Right.
Dude,
That's right.
what the fuck ever.
Just
Um, So I go and I use an oil wrench from Crescent. It's a wrench that opens up a lot wider. It's easier to turn bulkheads.
For oil filters.
Yeah. What
It doesn't actually, you can't use a wrench on oil because it's a fluid.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. It's not a fluid. It's not a, what is that type of fluid, like cornstarch and water? Where if you hit it real hard, real fast.
Yeah, no, oil isn't like that.
Yes.
And I actually don't think there's anything like called an oil wrench at all. I
An
think it's
oil filter wrench, motherfucker. You don't live in Texas, you and your fancy California words. Don't make me hit you with a food bowl.
No, not. I got a laser right here. I'll fucking.
Oh,
laser
fancy
the shit out of
California laser. Whatever. You're going to ruin your...
yeah.
And there goes Richard. He's gone from the show. Dude, don't burn your eyes out. Look, we're interrupting my beef for these shenanigans.
Ah! Okay.
So I saw some drippage. What's that?
Listen, I'm just here being polite.
Yes. You're
Rape my dad.
rape some angels. Let's rape some angels about it.
God, we should call this episode "Rape Some Angels,"
Raping angels.
but we can't. We can't.
Snowman's like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out.
My name is not Scott Oliphant.
Yeah.
This is your fault from your beef, Scott.
Yes. When you're in front of the PhD panel with asking questions, like they start asking you about your Reef beef appearance, you're like, that was not me.
That wasn't me. I wasn't here. I didn't do it.
Raping angels. Scott, I like you. And so this is my judgment call. I said if we were stuck in an elevator, I'd be cool with that. I don't think we would fist fight.
So, that's very loaded.
In Texas, I'm sorry, maybe that's out of context because I'm saying in Texas, that's something to hang your hat on.
Okay. Is fighting in an elevator.
I think we need to rate every guest on that scale from now on.
Yeah.
You are the most handsome aquarium maintenance man I've ever seen.